Good afternoon. I have some questions for you today. Some important questions for your general knowledge as well as for your upcoming examinations. The first question, and then it is the Applied Polity series. In this, we are going to connect current affairs with Indian polity, constitution, governance. So we are going to do some recent legislations starting from 2017. All the recent laws will be discussed in this forum. So today we are going to discuss ADHAAR Act, some important provisions of the ADHAAR Act. I have a feeling that this ADHAAR Act has been quite often misunderstood, and it can be a good question in your preliminary examination as well as your main examination. So the first question is, what is the objective of ADHAAR Act? So what's the purpose of ADHAAR Act? Second question, who is eligible and has the right to procure an ADHAAR card? Third, is ADHAAR card a proof of citizenship? Fourth, can illegal immigrants also get ADHAAR number? Means, are illegal immigrants also entitled to get an ADHAAR card? This is a tricky question and has not been decided so far in any decision of the Supreme Court, nor the Act clarifies this. But yet, there are ways by which we can argue. And then, in order to expand or extrapolate my argument, I'll have to discuss two more questions with you, and that is, does the state government or the central government guarantee fundamental rights only to citizens or to non-citizens also? Are directive principles of state policy meant only for citizens, or they are meant for non-citizens also? Because that is a general conception. The directive principles are meant only for citizens. Perhaps that may not be the case. So we'll start from the first question. What is the objective of the ADHAAR Act? It's always a good idea to see the bare act itself. We will try to simplify the provisions of the bare act here. Now I have this act. The very introduction of the ADHAAR Act is, the ADHAAR targeted delivery of financial and other subsidies. So financial subsidies and other subsidies, Benefits and Services Act 2016. So the very name itself is very suggestive. It says the purpose of the ADHAAR card, or the purpose of this ADHAAR Act, is targeted delivery of financial subsidies and other subsidies. So there are other types of subsidies also, like agricultural subsidies, benefits and utility services, obviously. So an act to provide for efficient, transparent and targeted delivery of subsidies, benefits and services, the expenditure for which is incurred from the Consolidated Fund of India to individuals residing in India. Individuals. It doesn't mention citizens. It mentions individuals residing in India. So two conditions here, that he must be a resident or she must be a resident of India and must come forward for application. So ADHAAR will not be imposed. It is based on consent. If a person wants an ADHAAR card, he must come and apply. And once it is given, this ADHAAR card can be used. This ADHAAR card can be used for the purposes mentioned here in the very heading of the ADHAAR Act. Then section 3 says, who is entitled? Our second question is, who is eligible for the ADHAAR card? So every resident shall be entitled to obtain an ADHAAR number by submitting his demographic information, means his residence. So he has to give a proof of residence, that's it. It can be a rent agreement also. And biometric information. So we know what is biometric information. So for the process of enrollment, a person must be resident. Every resident is entitled. So a legal right has been created in favor of every resident of India. Now, the word resident has been defined in section 2. It says an individual who has resided in India for a period or periods amounting in all to 182 days or more in 12 months immediately preceding the date of application for enrollment. So, let's say for example, I am applying for Aadhaar card on 15th March 2019. So, 12-month period immediately before this date will be taken into consideration, and it will be seen whether I have stayed in India for 182 days in these 12 months, 182 days or more. If I have done that, then I am a resident. I must tell you here that this word resident has been defined in Income Tax Act also, but that's different. This act defines the word resident in its own words, so only that will be applicable here for section 3. So anyone who can prove, now here also, the condition of citizenship is not mentioned. So a person who is not a citizen of India but has stayed in India for 182 days or more during the 12-month period immediately preceding the date of application will be eligible for this and will be entitled for this. So if he chooses to exercise this right, he will get an Aadhaar card if he applies. So section 3. Our third question was, is Aadhaar card proof of citizenship? The Act itself answers the question. The Act says, the Aadhaar number or authentication thereof shall not by itself confer any right or proof of citizenship or domicile in respect of Aadhaar number holder. So neither it is proof of citizenship nor it is proof of domicile. It is based on your residence. So first you have given your residence proof. On that basis an Aadhaar number has been given to you. So demographic information plus biometric information, that is your fingerprint, your iris. This is your biometric information. Now this Aadhaar Act was challenged in the Puttaswamy case also, which is famously called right to privacy case. Mrs. Mamata Banerjee, Chief Minister of West Bengal, had also challenged this Aadhaar Act. And presently, one more petition is under consideration by a constitution bench of the Supreme Court, that whether the passing of Aadhaar bill as a money bill was lawful or unlawful, constitutional or unconstitutional. So the matter is still sub judice. We don't know the answer. There are various interpretations. So we will discuss on a different date that whether the passing of Aadhaar bill as a money bill was constitutionally valid or not. So that is a different case altogether. Here we have answered few questions. So the objective of Aadhaar Act is financial subsidies, other subsidies, delivery of services, utility services especially. And let me tell you here that so far as subsidies are concerned or certain utility services are concerned, the state can offer these to non-citizens also. Reason? The reason lies in our part 3 of the Constitution and part 4 of the Constitution. We will see that certain fundamental rights are meant only for citizens, whereas certain fundamental rights are for all the persons living within the territory of India. All persons. Because they are human rights and they are universal human rights, universally available to entire humanity. Our constitution makers were considerate enough to offer these rights to every human being residing within the Indian territory. Similarly, the chapter of directive principles. Some directive principles are meant only for citizens, whereas certain directive principles are meant for all, because the word citizen is missing there. I'll give you a list of these fundamental rights and directive principles to prove my point here. So let's see. Here, Article 14, which is fundamental right to equality. This Article 14 mentions the word persons. I will read out this loudly. Article 14 says, the state shall not deny to any person equality before the law and equal protection of the laws within the territory of India. This article shows that all persons have the right to equality, all persons have the right to equal protection of laws, and the state can make special provisions for non-citizens also, including illegal immigrants. After all, illegal immigrants are also human beings, And only because they are illegal immigrants, only because they don't have valid travel documents, they cannot be subjected to misery, drudgery and penury. They cannot be starved to death. So certain basic rights must be available to them as well. Article 15 mentions the word citizen, so obviously it's meant only for citizens, not for non-citizens. Article 16 also mentions the word citizens. So if you go through all these articles, like Article 18 also mentions citizens, Article 19 mentions citizens, Article 20 does not mention citizen. It says no person shall be convicted. So it mentions the word person. Similarly, Article 22, no person who is arrested shall be detained. Article 22 is meant for arrested persons. So all persons who may be arrested by the state have certain fundamental rights guaranteed to them by Article 22. Article 23, right against exploitation, again, for all human beings residing within the territory of India. Article 25, right to freedom of religion. Now, right to freedom of religion is also to all persons mentioned here, so all persons, not only to citizens. But when you see Article 29, you will see any section of citizens. So this cultural and educational right is available only to citizens of India, not to non-citizens. Similarly, if you read the chapter of Directive Principles of State Policy, certain articles mention the word citizens and certain articles don't. Now, the articles in which the word citizens is not mentioned, or any reference to citizens, or by implication also, if there is no mention, if there is no implication of citizens, then obviously they are meant for all persons. So what we gather from this? From this discussion we gather that the state is empowered to make provisions for all persons. Certain directive principles of state policy, like a law for the disabled people, may not only for the citizens, may not be only for the citizens, but it may be for non-citizens also. So on the whole, what is the logic? What is the argument in all this discussion? The argument is that the state can make provisions for all residents of India, whoever is residing, and for that the state needs data. One of the sources of data is Aadhaar card. There are other purposes also, because Aadhaar card can be now linked to various other services, but the primary purpose is provision of subsidies, services, basic amenities, and that may be given to the illegal immigrants also. Whoever can show that he is a resident, though I wonder why an illegal immigrant would ever say that he is an illegal immigrant and yet he would be asking for an Aadhaar card. But so far as the law is concerned, it's meant for all. All those who can satisfy the condition of residency, that is 182 days out of 12 months immediately preceding the date of application. If he has been resident, he has an address, then the Aadhaar number may be given to him and he can apply. In fact, it is an entitlement. It's a right that has been given. So we have answered the questions. Again, I am just recapitulating. Objective of Aadhaar card: targeted delivery of services, financial subsidies, other subsidies, special provisions, social security schemes. Who is eligible? Any Indian, any non-Indian, any citizen, non-citizen, legal immigrant, illegal immigrant who is resident, because section 3 only mentions resident. Question 3, is it a proof of citizenship? Not at all. Aadhaar card is not a proof of citizenship, nor it is a proof of domicile. So if you want to prove your citizenship, Aadhaar card will not come to your rescue, because it's meant for all. It can be given to anyone who is resident. Can illegal immigrants also get Aadhaar number? Technically, yes. Even they can get an Aadhaar number, because as long as they are in India, they are entitled to certain basic rights that are called human rights. So we have answered these questions from the sections. Section 3 is very important, and the very name of Aadhaar Act is very important. It should not be misconstrued as proof of citizenship. Thank you. Thank you very much.